Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome to today's live stream. We've got a lot of great information for you guys today. Today, we will be talking about trading stats worth tracking. Now, the difference maker for so many traders is knowing and being in tune with their stats. This goes way deeper than just your P&L and your batting average. Those are important too, but for example, do you know what your average high watermark is? Have you heard of high watermark? And if you're asking yourself, like, well, what in the heck is a high watermark, or well, what's a low watermark? You're not alone. Like I needed to figure out this stuff too, and it's super valuable information. Like it's going to transform your trading. And we're going to talk about all this in this live stream. So in this live stream, we're going to talk about stats. We're going to try to keep it light and fun and as much as we can when talking about statistics. But um, it also goes into building your own trading journal and building it for yourself in Google Sheets for free. And this is kind of a part two to the trading journal, building your own trading journal live stream that we did a week ago. So I already see some people joining the live stream. For those guys that if you were here, welcome. I appreciate you guys being here. Go ahead, type into the chat. Let me know where you are watching this from. We're streaming to a bunch of different places now. We're streaming to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and a new spot called um, Share Vision, which I'm trying to get going right now. Is it going? I'm not sure. Anyway, we'll see what happens with them in a bit. Anyhow, go ahead, type into the chat. Let me know. Nikhil from India. Welcome, Nikhil. All right. So let's talk about trading stats worth tracking. So again, last time we spoke about a lot of stuff in here. Why don't I get my my screen up and going for you guys? Okay, so last time we spoke about a few different spreadsheets that I have in my own playbook. Again, like that, this is a journal that I keep for myself, and it's a bit more than a journal, just like tracking trades and tracking stats. Like it gets really like a full-on game plan that I keep for myself for the week. So I keep a log of the current market mood, open trades, an action list, a focus list in the neighborhood. Well, we'll go through all this stuff: trade ideas, universe list, closed trades. So, and we're going to talk a lot about this here today. Cool. Thank you, Jarek. Jarek said that yes, you are live on Share Vision. So I clicked the go live button over there, and I wasn't sure if it was actually streamed, but it does look like I'm streaming. So that's actually pretty cool. All right. So good job, Amit. Amit is the CEO over there. So nice to meet him. So we've got closed trades, we've got swing trading rules. We'll talk about too. Stats. I want to spend a lot of time on this particular sheet. I think that this is going to help you guys a lot. There's a lot of stuff in here too, like different emotional triggers to keep track of that for yourself, and a model book too. So wide application for this journal. And again, I encourage you guys to use Google Sheets. It's obviously a free application, and it's I think that it's the one of the best ways to keep a journal. Like there, if you're going to build a journal for yourself, um, it's the most customizable way to do it. So, yeah, last time we spoke a lot about market mood. We went through open trades, and if for any of you that are here that are joining, if you have questions about anything that we're talking about, just go ahead, type it right into the chat. And this is meant to be discussion, as much of a discussion as it can be. Like there's no open microphones, but we do have the chat there, and so I'll be monitoring the chat throughout. So you've got my open trades here. You can see that there's a bunch of different stats that I'm tracking across the board for all these. I actually have a decent number of open trades right now. KFY, WCC, DFIN, Upstart. Upstart is, you actually see that it appears there twice. So Upstart was an add-on position for me. So I started out with a smaller position, then I added to it. So I'm treating those as two separate things. So I've got that here, Snow, WSC, and just added Coin. And then there's some crypto stuff down here as well. But um, there's a lot of stats that's being tracked in here. And you could choose to track as much or as little as you want. I like to track a decent amount, obviously. And part of the reason why uh, that I like to track things in this way, right? Like beyond just the ticker and where the date that I entered, but also the setup and the stage. And part of the reason why too is that it's going to allow me to later on go back and dig into the different setups that I've taken over time, see what setups tend to work well, which setups tend to not work so well, the stage count, applying that, my overall gut feel, and taking that part of it and also applying it to the type of market condition. Excuse me. The type of market condition I'm taking these trades in. Sometimes, hey, now, like, go ahead. Let me know what types of setups that you guys like to trade. Like, well, what's your favorite setup to trade? Let me know. Post it into the chat. Some of the setups that I like to trade, like, are these VCP patterns, volatility contraction pattern. It's something that Mark Minervini talks a lot about, and he uh, discussed it in detail in his books. But basically, what a VCP is, and why don't I bring up one of these? Um, DFIN is a good one. I'll just drag this over here so we know what we're talking about. You see how this pattern, I drew boxes around the volatility contractions, and you see how you go from left to right, and it's getting progressively tighter and tighter, and the contractions are getting shorter and shorter as you move from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. That's a volatility contraction pattern, and the way to think about it is like a picture. You have a wet towel, right? And so you have a wet towel, you wring it out once, a bunch of water comes out of it, you wring it again, a little bit more comes out, and you keep on wringing the towel until it's eventually dry. That's what the VCP pattern is. You're basically wringing out all of the selling pressure from the trade, and then once it's finally done, that's when it's ready to break out, and that's exactly what it did over here. You can see that I have some other stuff marked up on this chart as well. Like I already uh, sold a bit of my position when it crossed above this level over here. My next scale out is when it crosses 39.45. I like to sell into strength as prices moving in my favor. And then let the last half of it continue to run. That way, I'm locking in gains right away, and then I don't have that kind of pressure for in case the trade does come in, and I'm only allowing the best trades, the trades that have proved themselves to continue to run. That was a question that actually came up earlier today in our Discord channel about selling into strength and when to shift gears. Anyway, back to this. All right, so you can see that there's a bunch of different things that we're tracking in here. One of them that we're going to talk about later on is has to do with this high and low watermark in the trade. Um, One of the ways that we track the high and low watermark in the trade is to see like what is the highest point that the trade actually achieves, and what's the lowest point that the trade achieves while the trade is active. This is uh, this is going to be super helpful for us because when we know how like, if you think about your winning trades, right? I realize I'm skipping ahead now, but if you think about your winning trades, and you think about how far does a typical winning trade move against me, then if you know that answer, you can start to cut your trades, cut your losses even shorter because you know on average that on average your winning trades tend to drop X amount. Um, since I'm speaking about it so much, why don't I just jump ahead? Right? Like there's no rules to this. Let's jump right into it. All right, so here are some of the stats to track. So you see like a bunch of different stats on here, and I'll walk you through like the mindset and the rationale and how you apply these different stats. Um, I'll click on the buttons up here so that way you could see uh, up here. And why don't I make this even bigger? So that way you could see the formulas being used, but the easiest way for you to get all of this stuff, it's all given to elite members as part of the Mara Elite program. So, if you become a member, you would get access to this playbook. You'd be able to make a copy of it for yourself and be able to edit everything there. But um, we'll still walk through all this stuff, so that way, yeah, you could make it on your own if you want. So, what I like to do, well, with this stat tracking sheet so far, right? You can see that it's a uh, pretty basic tracking. Not uh, artistic or anything, but what I did here was I'm tracking the number of trades that I've taken on the year. So far, I've taken 128 trades, and let me see if I can make this a bit bigger here. And so I've taken 128 trades on the year so far. This is a compilation of everything that I've taken. There have been 56 winning trades, 72 losing trades. And so I think that it's good for you to see this kind of stuff, right? Because what happens quite often is that people think that, you know what, well, like you need to have a high batting average. And let me see if I can put my face back on here. So that way you could see me and see all this. Maybe we can make this even a little bit bigger too. So yeah, we could zoom around. So what people tend to think is that you need a high batting average in order to do well at trading. Certainly doesn't hurt, but it goes a lot deeper than just having a high batting average. Uh, you can see that like my batting average for this year so far from January 1st to now is 43.75%, right? So I actually have more losing trades than winning trades. But if we come over here, right, to the total R, so total times my risk, like how much, so if you risk a dollar, how much have you made, right? Like you risk a dollar, you gain a dollar, risk a dollar, gain a dollar. So far on the year, I've generated 55.85 R across all my accounts. Now, eh, how is that possible with a losing record, right? Like 43% batting average, like it doesn't sound good. Well, the way that it works is you just have your winners be bigger than your losers. And that's what this section here it really helps us dive into our average winner and our average loser. In fact, why don't I make those bold? Right? Like it's good to see like what our biggest winners and biggest losers are too, but it's a little less important, I would say, than what the average is, right? Like, so you'll have some anomalies in there, right? Like, so some of my crypto trades are in here. This one happens to be Doge from when it was. In February at about 4 cents to when it ran up to like 70 cents and change. So that's in there. That's skewing things a bit. Also, the biggest losing trade is in here too. But what you want to track is not just the percentage, right? You want to track. Whoops. And then when you make a little clicking mistake like that, you could just click the back button. That's another great thing of Google Sheets. But what you also want to track is your winners and losers in terms of their R multiples, right? So for example, let's say you make 100% on a trade, right? That sounds great. But if you don't have a stop loss, like if you're just like, you know what, I'll let this thing go to zero, then you've only made one times your risk, even though you made 100%. Right? Like when you see uh, sometimes you'll see people talk about options and that like, oh, they made 500% on an options contract. Yeah, options contracts can multiply that quickly, but it's less impressive if you think about it as like, oh well, I made uh 5R on a trade, right? Like 5R is still freaking fantastic, but it doesn't sound as good as 500% on a trade. So think about your trades in terms of your R multiples. It helps to normalize how much you've won and how much you've lost. So for me, on average, I make about two times my risk, right? A little bit less than two times my risk this year. My average winner has been about 22%. Uh, my average loser has lost less than 1R, right? So losing 0.75 R. And then the average loser is a little bit under 5%. So this is very valuable information. The reason why is because when I'm going and I'm doing my uh, weekend routine or my end of day routine and I'm hunting for trades, I only want to accept trades where the potential is going to net me uh, about 20% or better. And the loss where I would set my stop, it should be around 5%. Like if it starts to get dramatically more than that, 6, 7, 8%, then that's a little bit too much given my current stats. So let's see. Let's talk about let's talk about the average low watermark in winning trades. So this is a very cool stat. See something from Jarek. I made 200% on a trade, the best $4 I ever made. That's fantastic. Thank you, Jarek. Uh, So the average low watermark on winning trades. This uh, this too again is very good to know, and the reason why is because if you know your average low watermark, meaning like how far does a winning trade move against you throughout the life of its trade. I started tracking that not too long ago. Let me zoom out a little bit on here. That's a little too close. So I started tracking that over here, right? So a lot of different columns in here. So what I would do then, like say for example, this trade here. in MATX. Let me click this. And you can see what MATX did, right? Like I bought the breakout on this day, right? It just popped right above my entry point. It futzed around for a little bit, then it finally broke out, hit the my first target, then it hit my second target, then it promptly reversed and stopped me out of the remaining shares at break even. So when I come over to this and I am logging all this stuff, a high watermark on the trade is $91.79. $91.79 up here, right? That's the high watermark. Then the low watermark was $81.63. So that is down here. That's as far as a trade went against me while I was holding the trade. So then this tells me that on this particular trade, that the worst that it went against me was a little over 2.5%, and the worst that it went against me was about half an R, minus half an R. All right, great. So now that I know that, um, it gives me a better feel of how far uh, I need to allow trades to move against me before just saying, you know what, this trade's a loser. Let me leave. Another great thing to begin to track too, and this is something that I'm always looking to add new and different things to the sheet and start to track things in different ways, is and to find out like how long does it take for this part to come in, right? Like, so if my low watermark is come back over to this, if my low watermark is 81.63, how long did it take to get to the low watermark? Right? Like, well, when does the low watermark happen in the trade? Does it happen after a day, a week? How long am I in the trade for that low watermark to happen? That's also going to help figure out, well, after what period of time should a trade be cut? And that, like, those two things right there, like, how deep does a trade move against us, right? So in this case, moved against us about half an hour. Then this trade was taken on this day. So I was in the trade 1, 2, 3, 4 days. So it was on the fourth day that the trade moved against me the worst that it did, and then finally took off. So knowing this data in the aggregate is what can really help you figure out, well, is this trade just kind of going sideways, like not going anywhere? Should I just cut it? It'll help you answer those questions of when should you cut the trade, right? Like if a trade is not going anywhere or a trade is moving against you, at what point should you cut it? Knowing your low watermark will help you substantially with that. Next up, I wanted to talk to you a bit about um, lists, list sizes, and tracking list movement. So, you we started to talk about earlier, or we mentioned at the top of this, universe lists. Right? Like all the different lists that we track here. So we've got a universe list, a trade ideas in the neighborhood, focus list, and you're like, man, oh man, there's a lot of lists on the spreadsheet, right? Like seems like a lot to take care of and manage. But it helps focus things, right? Like so if we're thinking about trading, we're thinking about stocks. I like to think of it like this, right? So you have the entire, like every stock that's in the stock market, right? And so there's what about 10,000 stocks in the stock market, right? So you take all of that, and no, we're not interested in all of them. We're just interested in uh, the ones that fit our criteria, and the ones that fit our criteria are going to be our universe list, right? And my universe list has about 400 stocks in it that meet my criteria. 400 sounds like a lot, but when you compare it to 10,000, it's really not that much at all. But then we need to narrow this list down a little bit more, right? Because we're not interested in trading all 400 all at the same time. No, like we want to see what is setting up and place our focus on that. So then we have a trade ideas list. And this week, there happened to be about 80 stocks setting up in actionable patterns or getting ready to set up in actionable patterns. So that's what this list here is. It's all the ideas that are setting up in some way, right? Like just kind of moving sideways that are in some kind of a basing pattern. And so this does a few things for us, right? Like, so we know what stocks are setting up, but in keeping track of this list, so this list gets I put this list together every weekend when I am doing my homework at night. I like to see after the market closes how many of these stocks are positive or negative, and it's telling me in real time, right? Like if I'm looking at this in the middle of the day, like right now or after the close, it's telling me how is the market treating stocks that are setting up? So right now, out of the 80 stocks, there's 64 of them that are positive on the week. So pretty strong, right? And that's it. That started to happen. I started to notice that happening back here, right? So if we move this over a smidge, yeah, you could see how last week and even the week before too, how things started to change, right? So in well, what was that? That's like the middle of September back here or end of September. Then beginning of October, things started to shift, and this is around where like I believe Upstart was purchased somewhere either this week or this week, and or at least added to Upstart again in that week. So the trade ideas themselves can be a great gauge of the current market environment. How is the market treating setups? And so that's why I like to keep this list here. And you can build something like this for yourself too. It's not difficult to just you import the price into the Google Sheet. Like Google Finance actually has like a code that you could put in here. We have a couple of extra codes in here too. So in case if there's a glitch in Google Finance, it'll just pull it from big charts or from FinViz. Jarek set that up for us. Thank you, Jarek. Um, but yeah, like keeping track of this data is super helpful. And again, like if you're like, yeah, like that's too much for me to set up, join the elite membership, and you'll get emailed a copy of this, and it gets updated in real time. So so you have that, you have the trade ideas list, but we're not interested in all 80 ideas, right? Like we want to break this out. We want to break this out into and in the neighborhood, in the and you can see my chicken scratch in the neighborhood, and then into a focus list. And the reason why I like to keep an in the neighborhood and a focus list is because I don't want things to just fall off to the wayside. Like sometimes, well, what'll happen is you'll see a stock, right? Like let's see if there's some decent examples. I updated this in the neighborhood list. Yeah, like so yeah, you know what? Like some of these might be really good examples. Like BTU, right? Like BTU broke out yesterday, right? Like generated a 17% return yesterday and gave yeah, I think Stu took this trade yesterday, gave him about 3R like right away. right? Like, so you could either sell the bulk of that into strength, maybe you're holding off onto a piece of it. Maybe you're selling the entire thing, but you always want to be selling into strength. Um, this was on the focus list because it was still near the high. Then it got demoted from the focus list because like on that kind of a bar that it had there, it's not really actionable. At least not for me. So I demote it to the in the neighborhood to see like how will it evolve as the week goes on, and well, now it's over here. And that's kind of like how the in the neighborhood and the focus lists work. So the focus list is going to be stocks that are much closer to being actionable right now. Asan was on the focus list earlier too. Asan was one that um, Anthony posted about earlier that he took. Yeah, you can see like how Asan over here was in form like a very short cup with handle and broke above the handle earlier this morning. And so far, it has generated about 1.5 hour. Like, yeah, like it's up 9% on the day, right? And so people love to say, like, oh, like it's up 9% or it's up 10 points or whatever. Like, and what's it up in terms of R? Right, like for when you're thinking about your trades, thinking about it in terms of R multiples, like it really helps uh, to like to reduce a lot of the excitement to fear or just like emotions in general. Just like oh, like it's up this amount of R, right? Like you know, if you tightened up your risk, and then it's like oh, like this is a 3R trade, then it's also going to help you figure out well where should you start to take profits? Where should you lock things in? And then that starts to play back in with your statistics from the stats page, right? So if you know how much you make on average, right? Like in terms of R, then if I'm up 3R on this trade, right? Like it's up almost 3R. And on average, I make about 2R, then I should be selling into strength, right? So that this is how the math and and the statistics all start to work together. And hey, you guys could do this. Like uh, it does take a bit to put together if you want to put this stuff together on your own. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like this took me a while to put the entire spreadsheet together. I'm continuously adding to it. If a guy like me can figure out how to put something like this together, you certainly can too. And I encourage you to. If you uh, uh, if you want to save time, like the way to do it is to just find somebody that's done what you want to do, and then have them help you, right? And that's what the elite program is for. So if you're interested in the elite program, probably should have this already opened up, but that speaks to my marketing prowess. Go to marrowwealth.com and go to services and go to elite membership, and that's where you'll get the this spreadsheet along with 4 hours of coaching every week and a Discord channel and a fantastic community, and all of my trade ideas too. So let's see what else in here. Ah, yes. So let's finish this. So we have the in the neighborhood list and in the focus list. Right. And by the way, we're running a bit over time. So if you guys have any questions that you want to ask me that's off topic from this, like please go ahead and type it into the chat and let me know what questions you have, and I'll do my best to answer them. But let me see how many stocks are on this list. So we have 54 and 31. 54 and 31. So 54, 31. Okay, yeah, so this should be more like 85. Yeah, and so from there, right, like I'm not looking at all 400 stocks or 85 stocks or even the as we break it down, I only want to look at a small number to see which stocks do I want to put money into, right? Which ones? What's going to be on my action list? And that's the final list before, of course, the open trades. And there's only going to be maybe 2 to 3 trades that I'm looking to take per day that land on this action list. I don't want to scale up too heavily, especially as a swing trader where I'm holding trades for an average of how well what's exactly the average? Like well why ballpark it if I could just look it up and tell you here. So let's come back over to this stats. All right, so average holding period is 21.3 days. Right, so on average, my winners are held for about 3 weeks. So if I'm not looking to turn over my portfolio that much, like I'm turning it over relatively quickly, right? Like so far, 128 trades on the year. By the time December 31st rolls around, it'll probably be over 150 trades. But the most that I wanna take at any one time is generally, 1 to 3 trades, on the action list per day, and I want them to be of the absolute highest quality, and being that I'm only going to take maybe somewhere between 1 to 3 trades a day, like, yeah, like, you absolutely should be focusing on the best of the best, and part of the way that we filter down to what is the best of the best, right? Like, how do we move from this universe list to the trade ideas to the in the neighborhood to the focus list? Well, uh, you know what? It's going to have to be a live stream for another day to get really deep into that. But just a quick snapshot, right? Like yeah, entire universe of stocks, the 10,000, then having a set criteria for what you're interested in. So it's not going to change day to day, week to week. Um, Perhaps it evolves over time, but general fit criteria, right? Like, so for me, I like to look at certain fundamental criteria, certain technical criteria that it must meet to get into here. So it meets that, great. Then moving down into the list, just seeing like what types of setups am I looking for. And so then that means that as part of your system, you need to have certain things that you're interested in. And look specifically for those things. Well, what kind of setups are you looking for? Are you looking for pullbacks? Are you looking for bases? Are you looking for can slim? Right, like for any of you that are familiar with Can Slim, William O'Neill's book, How to Make Money in Stocks, talks about a variety of bases, like a cup with handle, a flat base, a double bottom. Are you looking for those kind of things? Are you looking for other types of setups? There's a wide variety, but narrow it down. Figure out what types of setups are you interested in, and then that's going to make up your trade ideas. Then, once you have your pool of trade ideas, then you want to see, well, what's the quality of these? Are they ready right now? Right. And the ones that are ready right now are the focused lists. Or are they kind of like they're getting close? And those are the ones that go in the neighborhood. And then you take the focus list, right? The ones that look really good, and you narrow that one down to find the best of the best of the best. And then that is your action list. And yeah, that's it in a nutshell. So should have put this part up earlier, but for those of you that are here that are sticking around, I want to say thank you so much. And make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. That way you get notified every time that we do one of these. If you have any questions at all, just go ahead, type them into the chat and type them into the comments later on too. If you're watching the recording of this, I go back and I check all of the comments and I leave replies. You could also go to marawealth.com, leave me a message. If you're interested in the elite program, go check it out, see if it's right for you. And if it is, then love to see you in there. But for right now, I think that's about it for today. I want to say thank you so much for joining me on this live stream, and I will see you again here tomorrow. And what are we talking about tomorrow? I don't even remember, but I know that it's something good. Whatever it is, it'll be something really good, and I know you're going to enjoy it. So come back tomorrow, 2 o'clock Eastern time, and I'll see you there. Take care. Much love. Peace out. Oh, wait, there's one more question coming in. I just saw this pop in right at the last minute. So we're doing an extension here, right? So from Confluence Trader, question is, what do you think about volatility, contraction, and expansion? So what do I think about volatility, contraction, and expansion? I think that it's very useful for finding great trades. So, for example, earlier in this live stream, we were talking a bit about this trade idea, right? In Donnelly Financial Solutions, ticker DFIN. And so the analogy is that for volatility contraction, it's kind of like picturing a wet towel, and you're wringing the water out of that wet towel, and you wring it once and water comes out, you wring it again, more water comes out. And what happens when you see this happen in price, like it's volatile over here and it's a certain length, then it's less volatile and it's shorter, less volatile, shorter, less volatile, shorter, and it keeps on going like that. That's the selling pressure coming out of the stock. And then once it's finally done, then it's ready to break out and move on into new highs. It's very useful in trading, whether it's this more classic volatility contraction pattern, or it's something else, or it's something like let's see, uh, kind of like snow, right? So snow, I saw this as an inverted head and shoulders pattern, but even within this, right, like you see like how it's uh, like let's zoom in a little bit. You see like how over here it's kind of wide, kind of loose. Even the price bars are a bit wide and loose too, right? So yeah, and then when you move over to the right side and it's working up, like yeah, well, like there's some volatility in here, like even that too, like that day, like freaked me out a little bit, like even in buying over here. But when it started to march up, let me take off these fib extensions in the way. But you see like how price started to get orderly up here, then it pulled back, and then so like even this, if you're looking at just this section here, just this, right? If you're just looking at that part, that it's a little less volatile than when you're looking at the left side of the base. Do you see that? So, oh hey Alex, just saw Alex pop in. Um, Then you have this final contraction right here before price blasts off. And so that's how I'm thinking through volatility contraction. So, like, there's plenty of volatility over here. You still have some towards the bottom of the base. Then, like, price is getting less and less volatile. And then when you're at this inflection point, right? And so, price, like, I also have that dotted line there. You see how it says major support slash resistance? Yeah, because price came down and tested that area, found resistance, tested it again over here in February, found resistance, and then it wasn't tested again until it came all the way into September, hit it, still found resistance, but now the momentum has shifted. Yeah, the momentum has shifted, and volatility started to contract right in there below that major resistance area. And when you're meeting this inflection point, and there's a few other things going on in this chart too. But when you have all these things coming together, it's part of what makes a setup. It makes one that works very well. So that's why I took the trade, and that's why this one was on the action list. Yeah, last week. Last week it was there. The 13th was what? Um, I forget, but that's the day that I took that trade. All right, yeah. So you are definitely welcome. If there's any other questions, try to get the questions in as quickly as you can. I know that there's a little bit of a delay between um, how the feed goes out and when I actually see uh, the comments show up here. So try to get the questions in as quickly as you can. But if there's no other questions, we're about 15 minutes over. That's okay. I love doing this stuff, and I love being here and sitting with you guys and talking this stuff like that. That's why I quit the day job a few years back to do this kind of work. But again, I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you back here again tomorrow for no, we'll find out well what the live stream is all about tomorrow. But go check out the channels, and I will see you tomorrow. All right, that's it for me. Take care. Much love. Peace out.